map yet.
Okay.
Oh, it's there for me.
I see it!
All right, cool. Okay, thank you, everybody. Please feel free to interrupt and keep me
I still
updated.
don't. Does anybody else still not see it? Oh, no, now I do. We're good.
No,
Okay.
oh yay.
I think I'm just gonna have to talk, and people can feel free to interrupt me or tell me to slow down if they haven't if they haven't seen the slide we're talking about yet. So these are some of the wonderful Krunian achievements that the owners cabal drafted throughout the event. I think these are I think some highlighted achievements I'd like to highlight are it looks like worker-owned cooperatives are finally recognized by the League, which is very cool for the French Revolution. It sounds like OSU and AVC are up to some QR, VR, AR merchandising, and for some reason the word propaganda comes to mind, and that's not quite correct, but I still think it would be it's in that vein. And evangelizing, there we go. To evangelize the League. Weirdly enough, you guys have invited a world government liaison into the League, which I think is very oddball, and we'll see how that goes in the future. We may have to incorporate a world government liaison player, just to see how that that might happen. Actually, I'm trying to conceive of a world where that would be in the realms, and I think that might be just the case. And then, bizarrely enough, there is some sort of formalization of fan on fan battle royale events, and these were inspired by the violence between JGL and Toronto United fans, but apparently those are the two teams who did not vote for this, among others. So, all right, just got it. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next screen, so it might take a second to load. So in terms of sports, you guys increased the timeout, which was cool. That was kind of a sports change. You are allowing the military-grade cybernetics and also hire technicians to overclock those cybernetics, which are some very, very extreme moves. I should say that some of these tags might not be 100% what they were when you voted for them. There was a little bit of interpretation and hindsight type of thing. I think the tags worked pretty well in getting people invested in which policies passed and didn't pass, but we'll definitely be rethinking them for later games, especially the lead disruptor and the lead stalwart tags. I think those were they were just too vaguely defined, and it just it's not, and so we'll rethink it. So thanks for everybody for fighting for what you thought was appropriate given your position, and thanks to those who pursued some of the policies outlined in their briefs as well. Props on Beijing for almost getting Hong Kong reclassified. I think even the fact that they got close is actually pretty impressive. So there was a rivalry realignment.
We didn't play in horseshoes. Almost don't cut it.
It's true. So there was a rivalry realignment in the Southern Division. I was going back and rereading the notes, and it didn't say, as far as I could tell from the notes that I found, whether that would happen this year or next year. So I assume next year for the schedule and everything. So here's kind of a recap of some of the things that people might expect to address in later seasons. This would be the breaking news as of
is still our whatchamacallit for this season. That doesn't happen until next season.
Doesn't happen until next season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have had to have rewritten the schedule and stuff, and it didn't say so I just didn't. Yes. So this overclocking stuff is going to start causing problems likely. So you guys might have to figure that out. And of course, there's always the space cricket is always at your tail. So it sounds like the captain is back at Toronto, which is great. And the world government is really starting to look into whatever these Zathal aliens are. They're real curious, and they're pretty sure the League has something to do with it. And there's also some AR VR stuff going on, and it sounds like the League is announcing a kind of a pretty ambitious anti-global warming initiative. I mean, when you get 3 times 16 is how much is that? 42? 48. $48 zillion global warming initiative is pretty it's a lot. By the way, this digital close things is an actual headline that I found like the other day. Apparently, this is catching on because of COVID.
Is that like people 3D printing clothes?
That's terrible.
No, it's like I think it's like on Zoom. Like if you're not wearing your shirt, but it looks like you are. I think.
I need that technology. What's up, shirts? Like, why are we wearing clothes anymore?
It looks like they were editing clothes onto models, which is very strange. It's all very bizarre. But anyway, so I'm gonna go back to the actual score of the there was a scoring mechanism proposed for this season, and so it's important to honor it. Even though I'd like to reiterate that a lot of this stuff is really subject to chance, and we'll be looking to fine tune it in the future. And to all the League disruptors and League pragmatists out there, we'll likely be either heavily tweaking or getting rid of those tags altogether. So you won't have to deal with kind of these really vague terms. So congrats to these highly influential teams. It also appears that the extreme school of thought proved very entertaining and therefore popular, I think, with those who had neither strong opinions with extreme or old school. So I think that certainly helped things pass. So congrats to Hong Kong, and we'll get going on the next section. So on to the VPs. This is my favorite stock photo I think I've ever seen. The look of pain on that man's face is so good. As some of you may know and some of you may not, the VPs were kind of engaged in their own shadow economy to secure approval from each other. And so if they succeeded, they would get the corner office, and if they would not, they would be stuck in hot desking hell. And of course, if they partially succeeded, they get a nice, cozy private office. So we had a kind of a bit of a VP mix-up right at the beginning due to we had a number of VPs dropping, or not VPs. We had other players either not showing or dropping due to last minute, due to family concerns or schedule conflicts. So a lot of VPs actually got promoted right as the game started or right before the game started. So that might have messed with the economy a little bit. But either way, there was definitely some VP hustle out there, and props to you guys. Shout out to the VP of Mumbai who almost made it to the private office, and shout out to Hong Kong and Toronto for both their cozy private offices. But of course, the true winners here are those who've secured the corner office. So congrats to Alyssa, LJ, Dylan, and CC. LJ, that I would like to highlight that your corner office in my mind is inside of this glass adorned cave. So I'm not sure if that's your style, but
it totally is. Like I'm super in for that.
Yes. So we'll get going. Would any of the VPs with their corner offices or less than corner offices like to say anything real quick? Otherwise, we'll just keep on going.
Thank you all for a fantastic day.
Oh, very sweet.
I'd like to
You got
say real quick.
promotions. Yay.
I would say real quick. I appreciate the owners of some of the VPs should really appreciate some of their VPs, because there are certain VPs that may or may not have been able to embezzle money, and I don't think any of them did. So they all deserve a round of applause for that.
Yes, applause for not embezzling money.
The president to be president. Big ambition.
All right. Well, congrats again, guys. So now down to the basement, and here's where we get to the true nitty gritty stuff. So we're going to start out, and we're going to jump into a whole table full of results. So I might linger on that a little bit. So here is the total raw athlete performance for each team. And so you can see I've highlighted on the right the best in the division, and the blue box is the best in the league. So congrats on the Mermance Convoy, specifically their Saber, for having the top athlete in the league. But the picture gets more complicated. If we incorporate the rest of the things that affected performance, Mermance... Yes. If we incorporate the rest of the things that factor in performance, they actually drop down to 7th, which is pretty incredible. So this actually had me thinking I'll definitely be nerfing the personality bingo bonus, and likely the short-term investment bonus as well, just because I don't want those who can't afford it to be penalized as much. But I think this is quite an entertaining shakeup, and you can see how your ranking stands before and after the season.
This is fabulous because I came into the game without a lot of coffee and like not understanding words or numbers or English, and to know that like it didn't handicap my team that much, it's great. We did it, guys.
Yeah, props for Mike for holding on until Michelle had her coffee.
We're doing this. Or we did this.
The only way that like I would be cheered up is like mumbling to myself, "We're doing this." And Mike would be like, "We're doing this," and I was like, "All right, fine, we're doing this."
Yeah, how about Mexico getting number 4 with only having 2 members?
Yeah, props to you guys. Seriously. Let's see here. Okay, so here is the total raw athlete performance, total performance, and then also you can look at your efficiency metric, which is the performance gained per money spent. And so there's a lot that factors into this. This also includes the money donated to like merchandising and profiteering, right? So those are things that are essential for the health of your franchise, but don't contribute to the performance. But either way, it is a metric to consider. Props again to Mexico City for really doing the most with what they had in terms of on-field performance. Some other things to look at is when you get to the top tier, you guys are very close. Yeah, the difference between the second-ranked team, Sao Paulo, and the third-ranked team, Beijing, is less than 1%, or less than a performance point. So these are kind of the base stats going into the season. So I will move on ahead and talk a little bit about. I'll talk briefly about how I calculated the chance of winning for this season. And so you can see the equation on the lower left, and you can see plotted these dots. Plotted on the x-axis are the strength of the home team in comparison to the away team, and their value on the y is what their chances of winning are. And you can't quite see it because it's a fairly linear graph, but it actually gives, if you are slightly ahead of the other team, it gives you more of an advantage than. How to phrase it. It gives you more of an advantage than the difference in your performance. And as you get closer to 75, that difference and your chance of winning equalizes. And when you get above 75, your chance of winning plateaus versus how much better you are. So the maximum range that we had in terms of the difference was around 50 performance. And so even if you are 50 performance greater than the other team, you still only have a 95% chance of winning, which is very high, but not 0%. And I'm sure as those who have played games like XCOM or stuff out there, you still may lose that game. So I over here is it looks at the degree to which the random number generation generated the results. So it looks like the favorite won 77% of the time, which is roughly on par with most professional sports, even slightly higher. I think the NBA is at like roughly 80%, and like NFL and baseball are both much lower, around 70 or something, 70 or even like 68 or something like that. And you can see the upset won 23% of time, and most of those were actually pretty closely matched. So I'm saying this, and I'm saying this to just reiterate that you guys should all be proud for putting together like the best possible team that you had under your own initiative. And if you had fun, that's even better. I love that. And the nature of sports is that really only one team wins, and that's a real shame. And it's even declaring a single objective winner is heresy in much of the Megagame community. And so I just want to want to prep people. I hope you guys had fun, and props to the teams that put together a good team and had a good time. So we are going to talk about Eurasia West and Eurasia East first. So these were two good decisions, and we are going to look at the regular season scores in 3, 2, 1. So you can see Hong Kong, Beijing, and Osaka are definitely going on to the semifinals or the quarterfinals, and Murmansk and the French Revolution have tied, and they're going to play a tiebreaker match. So congrats to you guys. And there's always next season to Jakarta, Mumbai, and London. So the Southern and North American divisions, I will go ahead and go forward in 3, 2, 1. So you can see your scores there. And I should say props to the Southern Division for being pretty competitive. You guys had the number 2 total performance team, SPI, and the number 1 team, Johannesburg. And so after all this is done,
Why did one of the teams only play 15 games? Is that the Anaheim symbol?
Anaheim.
I see 9 and 6, but everything else adds up to 16.
Oh, this is a typo.
Well, congrats to them anyway.
Yeah. I'll have to double check that, I guess.
And those ranks are solid, like, regardless.
Yeah. Luckily, it won't make the difference.
Yeah.
So here is what our postseason tournament bracket looks like. We'll go ahead and we'll get started with zooming in on the tiebreaker round for the French Revolution and Murmansk. And you can see here, so Murmansk is favored at 61%, but that also means that they only win roughly 6 out of every 10 times. So you'll find this roughly like 50 to 60% range seems to be pretty common in this postseason because everyone is so closely packed. And you'll find that the effect of your play style getting countered by the other team to be much more impactful on the postseason because you only get to play one game. So unfortunately, after a strong showing, the convoy was eliminated in an upset from the French Revolution.
Oh my!
Yes, I know. This is quite crushing, I imagine. To the 3077 champs, the Murmansk convoy. Props to them for a good season, and props to the French Revolution for a surprise upset. So here's what our tournament bracket goes now, and we will just zoom into the division championships for each one of these divisions briefly. So we have OSU versus Beijing. Beijing is favored by roughly 2/3, but that still leaves plenty of room for Osaka. But the odds are not in Osaka's favor. So congrats to Beijing on your Eurasia East Division Championship.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. moving forward, we have probably the toughest and most contested final of any division final. You can see here the odds are incredibly close. And these are, it's the number 2 seed versus the number 1 seed. And I should mention that both you guys came back from the 37-7 season, so you guys are showing off and showing down. So after a strong showing during the regular season, the end of the road is evident for Sao Paulo.
They gave us a real run for the money. Like, good job, SPI. I'm super impressed.
Yes. So moving on, we have Mexico City, who is favored, even though they've been countered by Anaheim's defensive play style. Anaheim could not pull out the upset, and Mexico City will be moving on. Congrats again to the 2-person team of Mexico City. And last, we have the Hong Kong versus the French Revolution. You'll see Hong Kong here is favored in its 2 aggressive teams, and Hong Kong won out. So at the end, congrats again to the division champions. You guys are part of an elite group, so congrats. And we will be moving forward to the semifinals. So you'll see here that Mexico City and Beijing were both countered, which gave a slight edge to Hong Kong and an increased edge to Johannesburg. So this is a it's a random show of the dice, so there's always a chance for an upset, but not in this case. It appears the aggressive stance by Hong Kong.
Right timeline, Peter? Like, because you did this to us last time.
Don't fuck us again! Don't fuck us again!
Don't jinx it, Michelle. So this is probably the most crushing to Beijing to come this far and then get to lose to your interdivisional rival Hong Kong after attempting to force them into another division. Truly an upset, and it all comes down to play style in this case, or so it would seem. So we have our final bracket filled out here, and it all comes down to Hong Kong versus Johannesburg. And without further ado, with 67% favor to Johannesburg, the winner is the Great Lakers. So congrats, guys.
Yay!
We did it, Michelle.
We did it.
Good job, team.
I mean, to those who don't know us, we did play last season, so we did have a big advantage going in. For all the new time players, you will do much better on your second go around because you'll have an idea of how to work the spreadsheet. What does rock paper scissors mean? You guys are all gonna give us quite a run for our money next time.
There's only one spot better for us.
Yeah, and I should say,
improvement.
You guys did really good, and you guys were the number 1 seed. But it came down to a lot of winning, 51% chance games, 60% chance games. So congrats, and good luck to all the teams who come back next year. So now on to the profits. I am going to highlight the noble efforts of some of the teams who are in debt first. So you can see the total net profit in blue before the debt had to be repaid, and then the net profit or loss after the debt had to be repaid. So for many teams, that was the difference. For Mumbai and the Pride, that was the difference between getting a profit or losing profit for the season. So I guess you guys will have to take out decks next season. For Toronto, unfortunately, they did not have a truly profitable season. So it looks like they might have to file bankruptcy in the next year or two as a franchise. And then for Mexico City and Beijing, you guys actually took out money, paid it off, and still made a handsome profit. So congrats to you guys. And congrats to Jakarta for refusing to take out debt and still ending up with a decent profit.
Wait, taking out loans in this game is an option?
I offered it to only those teams below 70,000 this time. So
We started below 70,000. No, but that's fine.
this time,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys,
yeah.
yeah. So
I like that a lot. I think that's a good addition.
the interest is exorbitant. So if you can afford it, you really don't want to. You really don't want to take out debt. So moving on to highlight some of the teams that made a lot of profit. Johannesburg made a lot of profit, and they also took home an additional like 17,000 for winning the championship, which really helped them out. Below them is Hong Kong, who also did quite well in Mexico City. We also have some other profitable teams, and once again, congrats to Mexico City for making a profit and still making a profit even after paying back the debt. So here is the final profit spreadsheet for everybody. You can see their starting capital and their loan amount is highlighted in gray and in parentheses for the teams who got offered it. And you can see how your net profit and percent change is for before and after having to repay back all that debt. So this is actually a fairly, except for Johannesburg, which made a killing. This is actually a fairly even-ish spreadsheet, with a bunch of teams losing a little bit of cash, but still coming out roughly the same, and some teams earning a lot of money, which is kind of what happens in real professional sports to a certain extent. In the future, I'll continue to tweak the budget to kind of increase the appropriate motivations and decrease the other appropriate motivations, as well as to balance and create other interesting investment dynamics as well. So this is an ongoing game. So if your team ended up with not a lot of money, don't worry. If you come in and play next season, I will make sure that you end up with an amount of money that puts you on par with the other teams in terms of competitiveness. For those who came in from the season the 77 season into the 78 season, if you did the math on the back end, you'll discover that you actually pay a 60% tax on profits. And this is partially to keep the game balanced, and partially because you live in a dystopian world government state where high taxes are the norm. And the world government does not like the league a whole lot. But maybe that'll change with the new world government liaison. So I will put up this PowerPoint on a postseason website page, and I will also distribute a bunch of really nice, 2-page 30-78 season summaries that will detail your performance and your win-loss records and stuff like that for each team. And other than that, I'm gonna wrap up here. I hope you all had fun. We talked a lot about our experience and the game in general during the post-game period on Sunday, but I will be around to talk a little bit more. And if you have, if you have proposals for game tweaks or balances or stuff like that, feel free to send me a private message, because I'm all ears. So I hope you all had a good time. Congrats to the division champions. Congrats to Johannesburg. Congrats for all the teams that made money, and congrats for all the teams that maybe not have made money, but also didn't lose an extraordinary amount of money, because that's also a victory in its own right. So congrats to everybody.
Thank you, Peter. This was super fun.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Okay, I'm gonna stop
What about-
sharing.
Thank you, supercomputers.
What about the various initiatives that the teams made under others?
Yes, those will. I have typed up all the messages that will go into the post game briefs, but I think the majority of them, you can see the effect of some of them on these two slides and what you guys will be talking about. But I know some of you did different initiatives, and that will be adjudicated in your little team briefing.
Hey, do we actually know anything about them aliens? Or we're just getting pinned up for it?
Well, it's clear that you don't.
God damn it, I knew the cigar people were aliens.
Yeah.